Hello, and in this episode I'm going to take you on a tour of 10 of the things that I found to see and do when I cruised into Lisbon in Portugal. From historic monuments to places to eat and drink, and a sailaway under the bridge that left me buzzing. I've actually sailed into Lisbon twice, once in 2017 aboard the TUI Discovery 2, which is now the Marella Discovery 2, and last time in 2022 aboard P&O's Iona. One of the great things about cruising into Lisbon is that you dock right in the centre of the city, which makes it easy to explore on your own. And talking of exploring on my own, my number one thing to do is to catch one of the hop-on hop-off buses that stop outside the ship. I've done this in many cities, and it's a quite cheap and effective way to see a lot of places in a short time. The Lisbon tour takes you through a lot of the main sites, some of which I'm going to tell you about later on as well. You can stay on board and just have a tour of the city. Or you can get on and off as you please and visit the sites that interest you in particular. The good thing about the tour buses, they give you a commentary about the places that you're seeing, and you get to cover quite a large area without wearing out your feet. The route I chose took us through the centre of the city, and then we ended up down by the waterfront, which is where I hopped off for the next places that I really wanted to see. The Belem Tower was built in 1520 and sits on the waterfront of the River Tagus to defend the city of Lisbon. You can pay to visit it, but the queues were huge when I was there, so I was happy to just wander around and have a look. Then I carried on down the waterfront to see this splendid war memorial. The main reason I hopped off at the waterfront was to see the Monument of the Discoveries. I'll leave it to you to pronounce it in Portuguese. This monument was completed in 1960 and celebrates the Portuguese Age of Discovery during the 15th and 16th centuries. It was built partly as a commemoration of the 500th anniversary of the death of Henry the Navigator, who leads the 33 statues that line the sides of the monument that's in the shape of a ship. I've always wanted to see it, and I think that the statues are just beautiful. It's really worth seeing close up. From here you can look across the water at the 25th of April bridge and in the distance see the sanctuary of Christ the King. Number 4 on my list of highlights is Lisbon's Commerce Square. This huge open square overlooks the waterfront. You won't be able to miss it. Then, after all that exploring, it's time for some food, with Portugal's famous Pasteis de Nata, which are little custard tarts and absolutely delicious. There's more than one way to explore Lisbon, whether it's by taxi or on one of the colourful old trams. Or you might fancy an excursion on a tuk-tuk. Personally, I like walking everywhere and admiring the architecture of the city I'm in. On my latest visit, I wandered up the hill and ended up at the Church of Our Lady of Grace. Inside was decorated with Portugal's traditional blue tiles. At first I thought the designs were quite nice, but the more I looked, they've got quite a thing for the execution of martyrs. These are some of the less graphic examples. Even so, it's worth a visit. And outside there's a terrace where you get a view over the rooftops of Lisbon. It's probably one of the best places to see the city. From there, I walked down into Lisbon city centre, which is another of the places that's made my list of highlights. Here you can see buildings rebuilt after the devastating earthquake of 1755. There are shops as well. Or you could go for a ride on the Elevador de Santa Justa, which takes you up to a viewing point over the city, although again there was a big queue when I was there. You carry on through Commerce Square again and back down to the waterfront, where there's even a beach. I don't often eat out in Ports of Call, but friends of mine recommended the Time Out Market. I called in to have a look at some of the shops, and the food hall itself is really lively. It definitely looks like a great place to eat out. But for me it was back to the ship and time for Sailaway. But there was one last treat in store in Lisbon as we sailed under the 25th of April bridge. I've done this twice now, and it always amazes me how the traffic driving over the top of it buzzes like a swarm of bees. You have to be out on deck to witness this. See what you think. And so we sailed away from Lisbon, which is one of my favourite cruise ports of call. But I'm hoping I'll be back again one day, because I'm sure there's plenty more left to see. Thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up as well please.